welcome to the Movie Draft Podcast. I am Ethan Simi, and today I am joined by my co-host, Sophie Holsinger. Sophie, you're on mute.
Oh, she's muted.
Wow.
You were
Classic,
starting so
classic
strong.
podcaster attitude over
Starting
here.
so strong.
Bring it back.
Season the vet.
No, leave this in. Leave this
This
in.
is absolutely
This is
making the
staying in.
pod. I am not cutting this out. You're on mute again. You just can't seem to stop. It's good to have you on the show, Sophie. What's up?
Well, my quippy intro was going to be, there's a snake in my boot.
Ooh, nice.
Well, not so funny
So
anymore.
there you go.
You really botched that one. My other co-host, Ben Lawhorn.
The claw.
Whoa! Tyler, okay.
Okay.
And we have a lovely guest, one of the hosts of the Unsung Gems podcast, Tyler Beck.
Brought extra pair of shoes and my angry eyes just in case Ethan gets up to some shenanigans.
Nice.
You will be putting them to use. I will tell you that right now. And today we are collaboratively drafting Pixar movies. Guys, I feel like this is ironically and actually unironically our most serious draft maybe to date on the show. How are we feeling about that?
I feel the exact opposite. I came in with such good vibes. Like, not that it's not serious. Like, okay, so I love Pixar, it turns out. So this list, I feel we'll talk about a little bit more later. But this list is like important to me, right? So I'm like, I don't. So it's not that it's not like what did you say? It was what did you call it?
Just the most important draft we've done to date on the show.
Yeah,
it's okay if
it's
you're downplaying
important
that.
to
I'm not
me.
worried.
No, it's important to me, but I just feel like it's such good vibes talking about Pixar. So it's
Yeah.
like
Oh, okay.
I don't see it having like I imagine it being more upbeat or friendly, I guess, and less contentious.
I'm excited about it. I was talking to Ethan and Sophie though, and I mean Tyler, we've known each other, we're coming up on 20 years here. And it's like I don't know that we've talked about Pixar before. I have no read on Tyler and what his take is here. So it just feels like I'm dealing with 3 wild cards here, which is great. Like, let's see what happens, you know?
I think I'm with Ethan. I think this is like pretty serious just because, I mean, we're going to get into our relationship with Pixar and everything, but Pixar films are just so personal. And so I think we all probably have very different relationships with these movies, and it could get a little heated over here.
It could get a little hairy. I think that's what I'm worried about. I guess from a personal standpoint here, I've had enough traumatizing experiences on this show where I'm worried about my personal image and I'm worried about being attacked by you guys. And I don't think this draft is going to help with either of those things. So I'm coming in from like I'm very personally worried about how things are going to play out. We're making this podcast, we're releasing this podcast before Inside Out 2 comes out. The newest Pixar film coming out June 14th. This episode's dropping on June 11th. Question for you guys. Are we making a mistake by not waiting for Inside Out 2 to come out and seeing if it will crack the top 13 in this collaborative Pixar draft?
I don't think so. I don't think so because, I mean, look, so Pixar, I went through my letterbox. I had never done this with Pixar specifically, and I was like, "Oh shit! I have everything rated at least 4 stars."
Whoa.
So, okay, let me rephrase that. Not everything. Everything that like I had. I don't think every Pixar movie that I'd seen was 4 stars and up, but everything that I'd logged on Letterboxd was 4 stars and up. So when I went through and did like the full accounting, we did some adjusting. I when I first opened my Letterboxd account, I gave everything that I liked at least. Like usually if I liked it, it was 5 stars. That's kind of how I went about things. So I've gone through and adjusted, but I just can't see Inside Out 2 cracking like a pretty unassailable batch of almost perfect movies, in my opinion. So I don't think it's a mistake. I think it's good to get this out, before it releases. Ride the hype train.
My must-have list contains 1 sequel. So the fact that like
This
Inside
is
Out
good.
2 would make
Monsters
the top
University
13.
making the list. MU,
I
MU,
didn't want to give it up. I didn't want to give it up. But I was like, their track record with sequels is a little hit or miss, maybe a little more miss. So like, I don't feel like we're missing out on a top 13 Pixar, but I'd love to be proven wrong. I just don't think that's the case.
Yeah, would love to be proven wrong as well, but I also don't super enjoy a lot of Pixar sequels, so I'm not.
Okay.
I also, not to show my cards too much, but I'm not the biggest Inside Out fan, so you know.
Okay.
Interesting. Yeah. I don't think it would crack into this top 13 by any means, but I do think it would be an interesting like Pixar experiment to kind of like gauge at least like a line in the sand of like where are we right now with Pixar. I will say, while I'm not like very excited for Inside Out 2, I do think the new voice cast looks quite phenomenal. We're talking about like Maya Hawke, Adele Exarchopoulos, Io Adebari. Like these are good gets in my opinion. So I think they have the possibility to bring some magic. Now, Inside Out 2 not eligible here for this draft. Quickly before we talk more Pixar and before we get into the draft, Ben, can I ask you a question? Because
yes.
last week we did our film franchises mega auction. Sophie and I were part of this auction. Ben, you were not. Can I just get your take? Like, I want to know from you what you thought of what you've listened to so far. I'm really gonna put you on the spot, but I need to know that you're on my side here.
I'm sorry to disappoint you with that, because that's just like not the case at all. I won't spoil it for anyone who hasn't listened to it yet, but like what ended up being the most expensive franchise blows my mind. As good as it is, it still blows my mind that it's like the number one price franchise, and the deal that some people got on other franchises just crazy. But collectively, you guys are all just wrong about the Batman. But other than that, it's a great episode. It's a great episode.
I think in an episode full of horrendous takes, that was our best take on the show. I think that was a good collective take. I feel happy about that. Now, the time of recording this Pixar collaborative draft, we do not have the results of the film franchise's mega auction draft. Or else I would say, like, hey, it feels so good to be a winner. I'm so glad to retain the belt. But we'll have to wait another week, unfortunately, for that. Tyler, you mentioned your relationship with Pixar. Sophie, you talked about how personal these films are. Tyler, I'll start with you. What is your relationship with Pixar? Do you remember when you first saw a Pixar movie? Do you revisit them often? What's that like for you?
Yeah, yes to all the above. I do remember seeing Toy Story in theaters when it came out with my grandparents, my grandpa. I do revisit Pixar movies pretty frequently, and I guess like Disney Animation Studios as well. And it's actually kind of funny because even having said all that, I didn't really realize how big of a fan of the studio's movies I was until preparing for this draft. I was like, oh shit. I put together the top 10 and it was a solid brick of 4.5 and 5-star movies for me.
Wow.
Which I guess is why I said, like, I don't see it being very contentious for me personally, because almost like my number 2 through 10 are nearly interchangeable for me. So frankly, I'm just excited to be here. I just want to be a part of something great. And not to jump on strategy too much, but I really do kind of want to work together and put together the best list possible.
Sweet,
the first time
Tyler.
I've ever said that in a
That
collab
is-
draft.
You're so innocent and you're so beautiful, Tyler. And I wish you the best in the great beyond, quite honestly. Your soul will not survive this draft. Sophie,
You hurt me, Ethan.
Well, you say that now, Tyler. You say that now. Sophie, what's your relationship to Pixar movies?
Wow. Okay. I think Finding Nemo was the first movie I ever saw in theaters. I was 4 years old and I remember seeing it with my cousins and just being totally entranced by it. And then I was lucky enough to just kind of grow up with Pixar. And these movies just feel super nostalgic to me. So I do find myself revisiting them a lot. They're big family movies, like big movies that we quote still to this day. I was with my family this past week and we were not like everything we say is like related to Finding Nemo or Monsters
Mm.
Inc. It's crazy. And when I think about these movies, I think about watching them with my family in the back of my mom's minivan, and they're just. I grew up in a household where like we weren't allowed to watch SpongeBob. Like
Mm.
it was like
Shout out, me
wholesome.
too. It was
Yeah,
the worst.
it was the worst. But at the same time, like I got to grow up with these movies. I got to grow up with wholesome, family friendly content, which has its perks. So yeah, I love Pixar a lot, and I feel lucky to have grown up with these movies.
Well,
Yeah.
I feel lucky that you're a co-host of a podcast that is going to be drafting these films. I feel like this is destiny, and you have worked your way to this moment in time. I feel very happy for you. Ben, what about your
Yeah.
relationship to Pixar?
I mean, similar to Tyler's, I saw Toy Story in theaters. I feel like I saw pretty much everything in theaters until, I don't know, maybe like The Good Dinosaur or something like that. So yeah, I love Pixar. Again, just to reiterate what everyone else has said, I think I was surprised how much I loved these movies as I was watching them. I watched 2 movies for the first time. I
okay.
watched 15 movies, I think 14, 15 movies. 2 of them were first time watches. One of them I will not be bringing up at all, but another one cracked my must have list. And I was just like, oh,
Wow.
I missed out on this.
Ooh.
And this is a great
Cool.
movie. One of my new favorites. So
Tell us what it is when the time comes.
I will. If it makes the list, I hope it does, but I'll bring it up.
Tell us at some point, because I need to know.
Yeah, I will.
I feel like
Yeah.
I know everything about you, and then you surprise me with something like this, and I need to know what it is.
I gotta keep
Aw.
it interesting, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I love Pixar movies.
I as well, much like you guys. I was raised on Pixar. I have an interesting like core memory that was kind of unlocked while I was going through these movies. I personally don't have a very good memory. So like I can't recall like what the first Pixar movie I saw in a theater was, or like what I watched all the time. When I rewatched these, I had a very special connection to The Incredibles. My brother used to be like obsessed with that movie. So it was just on all the time. So like regardless if I was watching it or not, like I was consuming Incredibles content. But the core memory for me was that I had a PlayStation growing up, and there's a game for PlayStation, a Toy Story 2 video game. And I have a PlayStation 5 now, and they still sell this Toy Story 2 video game on the PlayStation store. And I bought it and I played it, and I swear, like if you were to blindfold me and tell me like, okay, hit X to start, I can tell you every single like micro detail of that video
Nice.
game, and it was scary, like going back and playing it. So like I do have a connection to Pixar, like very, very formative kind of brand content of my childhood. So I'm glad to be here doing this. I rewatched 12 movies preparing for this, which is why I say like I feel like this is our most serious draft to date. Because generally when we plan something and put it in the calendar, we're at least Ben, Sophie, and myself. We're like, okay, we're gonna rewatch X, Y, and Z to prepare for this draft, or we're gonna check out these new ones. More times than not, it's a huge list, so we just don't get to the things we want to get to. But Ben, you watched 15, I watched 12. Like I was hammering out Pixar movies left and right to try to prep for this, and I will say some really big shuffles in my private ranking list that I have going on. So I'm really excited about that. Let's talk a little bit of strategy before we go through the rules, before we go through what the game plan is going to be here. I feel like Ben and I revealed a little bit, saying how much we rewatched. Sophie, you do any rewatches for this draft?
I did 0 rewatches.
Whoa, what?
I think I mentioned this to you guys when we were planning this episode a while ago, but I just feel so versed in Pixar
Oh, okay.
that I didn't need to rewatch any, but
You didn't crack open any of those DVDs?
shut up. Let's not bring this up right now.
Okay,
You can
all
tell
right.
how
Not the
embarrassed
time.
she gets when she gets personally attacked. Just stray out of nowhere.
Not the time. Not the time. But there's a lot of Pixar sequels that I've never seen before, just because they do have a reputation of like not being as great, and I haven't had the best of luck with them in the past. So I maybe should have done that, but I didn't. And I feel affirmed that you guys think those maybe won't make the list.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were a good chunk of sequels that I did not check out either, based on the poor reputation. So I will
Yeah.
say that at least. Tyler, what about you prepping for this draft?
So I wasn't really able to watch too many things in preparation for this podcast specifically, but over the winter I was staying with my sister-in-law and her family, and she's got 3 little kids, and so there was a ton of Pixar on at the house all the time. So I've seen a lot of it pretty recently. I did watch one of the uh, newer Pixar releases that I hadn't given a fair shake to. So I did watch one Pixar movie in preparation, but I also did some grassroots polling, just like asking people what their favorite Pixar movies were, just to kind of get a
Ooh,
vibe
okay.
of like
Hitting the
what the
streets.
populace thinks.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not the best like conversationalist, like icebreaker, you know what I mean? So my new go-to has just been like asking people about movies because I talk about them so much now. And so that was my sort of icebreaker question recently, is like, what's your favorite Pixar movie? And
Nice.
honestly, like some of people's answers really surprised me, which is why I do think it's an important draft, but I honestly think there's no wrong answer, which is like not the best podcasting, you know what I mean? And I have my opinions for sure, and I will fight for the ones that I care most deeply about. But I don't know. I feel like we're in for a good time and a good
Yeah.
list.
Yeah. That's actually how Sophie meets people in New York. She'll go up to them and say, "Hey, what's your favorite DVD that you own?" And then
Right.
they're friends right on the
That's
spot.
it,
It's
yeah.
incredible. You can't mute yourself just because you're laughing so hard, Sophie. That's
Making
unfair.
friends.
Unfair to the listeners.
Yeah, you're
I will
stealing Ethan's
share.
thunder.
I will share 2 more personal connections to Pixar, and then we can draft. 2 things here. Coco, which we'll see if we talk about either of these films. It's possible, but it's also possible that we don't. Coco was a very instrumental movie in my household when my first daughter was growing up. On every single day, I could tell you every scene in that movie. Onward is the very first movie that I ever took my first daughter to go see in a movie theater right before the pandemic. And so that is like another core memory that I have for me that is attached to this film, whether the film was good or not. It's kind of, up in the air, but I have a personal connection, at least to these 2 things. So I'm curious to see if that changes their estimation in this draft against what you guys might have personally attached to yourselves. Okay. Is there anything else we want to talk about? We want to rattle off here before we get into the technicalities of the draft?
I feel ready.
Let's
I
do
feel
it.
scared.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay. Tyler, you mentioned you want to be collaborative. Does anybody else? Can we just get like a pulse check? Anybody else want to be collaborative? Sophie, I know you and I are just fucking. We want to go cutthroat over here. So.
Well, think like when I say I want to be collaborative, I really that's not to say that I'm not going to like force my opinions, but I'm hoping that we can have some honest discussions and try
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
reasonable, because like you've you didn't state your actual opinion on Coco, but let's say that's your number 1 movie because of the reasons you just outlined.
Sure.
Like we could, I would say we could have a talk about that and try to be reasonable and come up with a good place for Coco, a movie that I do love. But you know what I mean? That's kind of what I mean by being collaborative. Not to say that everything's going to be hunky dory, but I want to make this a good list, and I think we all do, because we all care about Pixar so much.
For sure.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I do want our list to be good.
Yeah.
I want us to put out a good list that'll look good. So whether we work collaboratively or maybe strategically individually, that is yet to be seen, and we will see how this plays out. But together, we're going to be forming one team that is going to be standing at the very end of this, a collaborative board of the 13 best Pixar films. That is what we are working towards today, right now, on the Movie Draft Podcast. As always, with the collaborative drafts, a special shout out to Screen Drafts. Go check out their podcast if you haven't. They kind of pioneered this format of a collaborative draft, and so we appreciate them doing that and forming this wonderful way to talk about some of the most pivotal movies to our lives, really. So let's see what we do. We've got 4 of us. That means we've got 4 drafter spots. Ben, do you want to go through these rules? Because I feel like I have a tendency to mess them up, and I don't want to be held responsible if that's the case.
Like the drafter positions and the benefits and things like that.
Yes, please.
Okay, so we will be spinning the wheel of death to determine what drafter. I'm not even starting out that great, so I don't know if this is any better.
Not making a good case for yourself.
Not making a good case at all. We're going to spin the wheel to see who gets to pick what spot they want to have. We will go in that order 1 through 4. There are 4 drafters A, B, C, and D. Drafter A is going to get picks 1, 5, and 9. Drafter B is going to get 2, 6, and 10. Drafter C will get 3, 7, and 11. And drafter D will get 4, 8, 12, and 13. So they do get the most amount of movies, but they are all weighted towards the bottom. They don't have a top 3 say or anything like that. Because they get the most picks, drafter D will only have 1 veto. Drafter C will get a veto and a veto override, which cannot be used on their own selection, but can be used to help someone else. So if Ethan decides to play Coco at 4 and Tyler disagrees and vetoes, but Sophie has the override and says, you know what, I think Coco at 4 makes sense. She can use the override. It gets rid of Tyler's veto and Coco stays. Drafter B just gets 1 veto and drafter A gets 2 vetoes, kind of to help them get their number 1 up a little bit higher if they want. So those are the spots.
The question.
Okay.
I can't believe I've never thought of this question until just now. In that scenario you outlined where I veto Coco and Sophie overrides that veto, do I get that veto back or is it gone?
Oh, no, you burned that son of a bitch.
Okay, cool.
It is
Okay.
lost and
That's
gone.
what I figured, but I was like, I can't believe I'd never heard that discussed before.
Yeah, it is out of there, unfortunately.
Cool. It is.
Brutal.
It is. It's brutal out in these parts when you're trying to do the Lord's work out here, making a Pixar collaborative draft. Is there a spot that anybody is hoping for? Is there a particular draft order that you want?
Yes.
I don't really want to go first. See, I just
okay.
don't want to have. I don't want to be D because I don't want to make the first pick because.
Gotcha.
Oh,
I'm
interesting.
scared.
Okay.
Nice. I like
I
that.
want to gauge the room, you know.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I am just like Ben. There is a very clear position that I would like here.
Wow.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I really don't care, honestly.
All right.
Yeah.
Sophie's just here, just hanging. I love it.
We're gonna have fun.
Oh, I can't. Okay. All right. Let's just.
Should we figure it out?
Let's do this. Let's see who's bluffing right now, and we'll just see what we can take care of.
Here we go.
Okay, you got the wheel of death.
Picking first will be.
Please,
Ooh.
stop.
Yeah!
Woo!
Unbelievable.
Rigged. This is rigged, even though I'm doing it.
We
This is
did it.
rigged.
We feel good. We did it.
All right.
Let's see who's next, and then we'll go. And then we'll go through.
Tyler.
Okay, looks like Tyler
cool.
is gonna pick next. Down to
Um,
Sophie
I
and
would
Ben.
take-
Let's see.
Ben, who definitely wanted a position. I think it would be funny if you go last. Ah,
It would
but
be
you-
funny. But
Lovely.
Sophie was here for a good time. Should be okay with this.
Yep.
Okay.
Also means, though, that Sophie gets to use her veto last. We go in the order that you were picked if you're going to use a veto. So Sophie gets to hold on to hers the
Oh.
longest, which is kind of
that's
nice.
that's a really
I forgot about
crucial
that.
call out because that is dangerous now. That
Yeah.
makes me scared. The true wild card of the bunch.
It's true. Is that a new rule? I've never heard that one before.
Yeah, it's just kind of the order that they go in on screen drafts that way because, Sophie doesn't get to pick anything at all. So a little benefit then is that like Ethan has to decide first if he's going to use his veto.
Mhm.
And then Tyler will
Mm.
decide, then I will. So if none of us have used it, then Sophie can be like, all right, I'll use my veto kind of thing. That way she gets to hold on to it as long as possible.
She's probably gonna like 12 Angry Men this shit and just like wait for everything the dust to settle and then bust out the knife and be like veto.
I think that's the way it's
That's how
gonna
I feel
go.
like it's gonna go. Okay, I'm gonna be picking drafter D. I feel very firmly about this and I feel very happy about this. The first time I've ever wanted to be drafter D, and we will see
Okay.
if it was a bad idea.
Nice.
Tyler, you're up to choose next.
Well, I'll just go drafter C. I really don't have an opinion, or I kind of with Sophie. I don't really care now that I don't have to be the first pick of the whole draft. So I'll just take C.
Well, that's what I wanted. So
Defer to Ben. Honestly, if you want it, I'll take. I'll
No,
take.
dude, it's all
Whoa,
yours. It's all
not
yours.
no
It's all
Tyler's
way,
too nice.
Tyler. No,
Too nice.
no.
I don't necessarily want the number 1 pick, but I do want 2 vetoes. So I'm going to take drafter A.
Oh
Yeah.
wow, this is
Okay.
interesting. Okay.
I mean, that was my instinct, but I don't still
I
have two abilities.
low key,
Yeah.
I'm Tyler. I'm really glad you're not choosing first. I couldn't. That'd be too much uncertainty. You know that's a big
Yeah.
position. It's not. I'm not saying I don't trust you. I'm just saying I don't
Sounds like
trust you
that's what
with the
you're
number one
Sounds like
spot.
you don't
That's
trust
that's exactly what I'm saying. Okay, so Ben will be getting picks 1, 5, and 9 with 2 vetoes. Sophie, you're going to be getting picks 2, 6, and 10 with 1 veto. Tyler, you're going to be getting picks 3, 7, and 11 with a veto and a veto override. And then I will be getting picks 4, 8, 12, and 13 with just a single veto. Oh boy. Okay. Are you guys ready?
Let's do this.
Ready.
Okay. So there's a very particular reason that I wanted this position. And I just think it should be made clear right off of the bat that I am in no way trying to instigate drama, malign anybody's opinions or preferences here.
Mm-hmm.
I swear to fucking God, guys, I'm just staying true to my list. Now, there's no way for you guys to vet that because I've kept my list private and it will never be released to the public because this is private information. But with having said that, and I feel I don't feel good about this.
Before he goes any farther,
I don't feel good about this,
So-
guys.
because he got first on the wheel, he gets to use his veto first, so he controls the first 2 spots no matter what because no one can veto. Is that true?
No, we can veto his pick. Yeah, the
Mhm.
vetoes are
Oh,
used on
okay,
other people.
okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
we can veto it. But something to keep in mind,
Okay.
since he's like preambling here, I'm going to do a little preamble
Yeah.
as well. Everybody keep in mind that he has the next pick. So he may play
Mhm.
something shitty here, but maybe don't waste a
Right.
veto because he could just play it the next
Yeah.
turn.
You can't come on. This is
Listen, if you're
let
gonna
people
if you're gonna do
strategize
all
for
this shit,
themselves. Let them figure
no.
out the game. You know.
I'm here to collaborate.
We're
here to collaborate.
collaborating.
I have a very specific order in mind, but I'm here to collaborate. So let's do this.
I'm actually
Ethan,
gonna
if
cut
you
that.
don't feel good about this, like maybe rethink it.
No, well,
Is this gonna be your Steve Jobs pick? Or are you
I
gonna play
feel-
something at 13?
I stand by that pick. That is a great biopic. Okay, guys, stop. That's a great biopic. Define a genre. No, it's not. It's not that I don't feel good about it. It's that I don't feel good about what might happen after I say it. I have
Okay.
no blood. Like I have no blood on my hands
Okay.
because of this.
Okay, Judas.
I'm worried. I'm worried what other people are going to think, and you guys would. Which again, like I think is interesting going into this draft because there's a lot of weight on Pixar movies, and I don't think, at least from my standpoint, like I don't know a lot about where you guys rank Pixar movies.
Yeah.
This is maybe the most in the dark I have been on a draft. So I think that's like a big element here. So I'm going to stick true to my letterbox list, and I'm literally going to pick what my number 13 is. I will not be pulling a Steve Jobs here. I will be looking at the number and saying, look, that aligns with what number we're picking. I'm going to do that. So for number 13,
Terrified.
I'm going to put in a movie that, while I think the first 15 minutes are truly some of the best work that Pixar has ever put out, I think the rest of the film is ultimately subpar and not that great. I'm going to be putting Up at number 13.
Okay.
Don't act unfazed. Don't act like that didn't just send you guys straight to the moon.
I'm not going to give you the
I'm fine with
satisfaction.
I'm relatively low on Up as well. It's on my top 13, but
Huh.
Yeah.
I haven't talked too much about my strategy, but I have 3 tiers.
Huh.
I have a bottom tier that I just don't want to show up at all. I have a middle tier that's just kind of like, if someone's passionate, they can have it. And then I have the top tier that has to be there. And this is there now. So great. You know what I mean? Maybe it's lower than I want, but it's a fantastic movie. Might be the best first 15 minutes of any movie, most impactful for sure. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you. It wasn't like it's on my top 5 or anything like that. So
Okay.
that's great. 13. I love it. Great pick. I support it.
Awesome pick, Ethan.
Go to hell.
You did it.
Sophie, you're good with this? We're okay?
Yeah, I'm okay with this. I think personally, I would like it a little bit higher, but ultimately, I'm just happy it's here because I do know a lot of people, kind of like what you said, enjoy the first 10 minutes and then just don't really care about the rest of it. I happen to think the rest of the movie is pretty good. I really like
Mhm.
the characters of Doug and Russell. And yeah, I mean, I think the themes of just like the adventure of life being like friendship and the relationships you make is really interesting.
We muted it again.
Right, I don't know
It's
why
actually
that's
part of her strategy this time. Is
Yeah,
she's just gonna go in and
you
out of
can't
mute.
hear me sometimes. Yeah.
Randomly mute.
No. But yeah, essentially, this is fine. Like I'm happy it's on the list at all.
Oh shoot. Okay.
You really
Well,
thought
this
you did something.
I really thought I stirred something up here, and that really fell flat.
MCU $500.
I
You can't keep starting out pods like this.
huh.
So now
Again, like I mentioned with the personal attacks, I feel like this is a reverse personal attack.
like you group attacked us? Is that what you mean?
No, like you sussed me out, and you were literally what you said, Ben. You're like, I'm not going to give you the satisfaction, and you all allied as a group. You just like quickly looked around at each other, and you're like, nope, not today.
Here's what I'm curious about. Are you going to play your number 12 at 12?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Wow. Okay.
Interesting.
I'm gonna stick to it. I'm trying a new strategy, and that is listening to my brain would be the new strategy.
For the first time in his life.
God damn. 20 something episodes in and you're testing this out, huh?
Well, I looked today and I was like, man, maybe that would make sense if we just think clearly here.
Yeah.
Take out the on-spot emotion. Just try to do things the way my clear mind was thinking prior. So I am getting a little bit worried now due to the lack of reaction, and I am going through this realizing there might be a movie or two in my top 13 that might get snuck out. But I guess we cross that bridge when we get there. Okay. Again, my number 12 is my number 12. I feel like this is in a similar vein. It is a film that I rewatched. So I did rewatch Up. I did rewatch this next movie I'm going to nominate for the 12 spot. And boy, I don't know. It just like didn't work for me. It's not that I wasn't like giving it time, because I went through a lot of these movies and I gave them new life and new opportunities. But for number 12, I'm going to nominate WALL-E.
That's
a movie that just doesn't hit me the same way lots of other Pixar movies hit me. Not to say it's not a good movie. It is, in fact, great. But it's just not higher for me.
I think your strategy would play so much better if your camera didn't work. Because when you smile after you say something like that, it's just like, yeah, obviously you're trying to get a veto out of us. Like, I'm not going to do
absolutely
anything.
not. I swear to God, I'm staying 1,000,000% true to my Letterboxd list.
If I let Pulp Fiction go at 6, like, I'm not going to do WALL-E at 12. You know what I mean? Like,
WALL-E is in the Criterion collection, Ethan.
That's true. And that you got to live with that. And that's fine.
Fair. And I realize, much like you, Ben, from time to time, you're on the wrong side of history. And I'm on the wrong side of history with WALL-E. I admit that. I totally understand that. It's not for me.
Yeah.
It's not that I'm trying to draw a veto. I'm not trying to draw a veto out of you guys, and I'm not meaning to smile. Ask my wife. When I'm accused of things, I laugh. So if I ever got arrested, I'm definitely going to prison because they're going to think I did it. That's just how I react.
That's fair. Because you know you did something. That's why
I know I did something wrong.
I love WALL-E. This is a personal top 3 for me. I know I have 2 vetoes, but it's early in the game. I'm not going to use one right now, but this is a beautiful movie, like a silent film for the first 40 minutes. Mm-hmm. I think it really shows off what Pixar can do just through like physical, just the physicality of these characters. This movie might have been, it was already high, but on the rewatch, I was like, yeah, this movie is a fucking 5-star movie. Like, I love this film. So I'm glad it's on the list. Thanks for playing it, Ethan.
That's okay.
I want to veto this so bad. I'm really weighing my options here because I genuinely feel it deserves to be at least a little bit higher. I have it in my top 5. I won't say exactly where in my top 5. And for a lot of the reasons Ben was outlining, I think it's just like it's just short of a masterpiece what they were able to do with just a robot bebopping around a junkyard. You know what I mean? Like, there's some obvious social commentary and those sorts of things. And I think I was actually thinking about this when I was watching the latest Pixar movie I watched, where it seems like Pixar had is sort of making a jump from exploring settings and characters and starting to explore like themes and social commentaries, I guess. And I feel like Wally may have been the first time they dipped their toe into that pool. And I just think it deserves more respect than being number 12. And it is early in the game, and I feel like I have to veto this because it's got to go up a little bit higher than 12. So I am going to veto.
Okay.
That seems crazy to do, but it has to go up just a little bit higher.
Did
Sophie,
Did Tyler just save you a veto?
Yes, he did.
Oh boy. Dang it. I'm sorry that I had to pull that veto out of you. I didn't it's like pulling a thorn out of your thumb, right? Like it hurts, but afterwards you're like, that was the right decision.
I mean, but the thing is if we all wait to use our vetoes towards the top of the list, then I've seen it happen where people don't get their vetoes. They don't get to use it at all.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna use it now because I do think Wally deserves it. I'm not even just trying to like come in here and be the antithesis to Ethan.
No, I love it. Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
Well, and in the spirit of collaboration, it feels like me, Ben, and Tyler all are really high on this movie. So,
okay,
yeah. We're compromising.
So, what should I do with that information now that I have already played?
What's your number 11?
Okay, my number 11. Well, let's see. So this is the interesting battle that I get into here. I need to figure out. I've got 8 as well. I feel good about that. Okay, yeah, we'll just go with number 11 here. We'll just keep cranking through. I'm gonna go with Cars for number 11. I really liked Cars, and I hadn't seen it for a really long time, and I rewatched it. And when they play the Our Town like montage, I was like, damn, that's brutal. Like commercialism kind of blows sometimes, you take out the little towns and that one hurt. And I realized I'm on a podcast saying like, I like Cars better than Wally, which is probably blasphemous, but you know what? This is the reality I have to live in. So I go with Cars at number 12.
This was one of the new watches for me and not the one that made my must be on here list.
Yeah.
I think I just like missed the boat on Cars. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I just like,
okay,
it's fine. I'm glad it's not in the top 10. I was saving a veto if it ended up in the top 10. So you saved me a veto, Ethan. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Cars is my number
you're welcome, I guess,
on my personal list. So
yeah, so
okay.
it's totally fine. Saving a veto for me may feel like a thorn in your thumb that you just have to pull out. Like it hurts, but it was a good thing that you did. So I appreciate it.
Wow. This is, God, I'm just trying to, oh man.
We're drafting.
There's only one Pixar movie that has friggin' Paul Newman voicing a friggin' car. Guys, Paul Newman.
Look, I mean, like I said, honestly, they're almost all interchangeable. And honestly, Cars was on my next tier down, but everything above that, I'm like, it's pretty interchangeable for me. But
that's so interesting. I really thought we would be a group of Cars, the Carsies here. Sophie, what were you going to say about Cars?
I was going to say that I knew this was going to happen because I saw you watch this movie and you enjoyed it. And I was prepared.
That's a bad thing. You're anti-Cars as well.
No, I'm not anti-Cars. I grew up with Cars. I enjoyed it at the time, but I have had no inkling to revisit it at all. And I feel like the culture doesn't really love Cars right now.
Yeah.
And so
am I supposed to be making my picks based on the culture?
No.
Am I supposed to be taking a cultural temperature before I get on this show and be like, ooh, let me see. What will the culture say?
I didn't say that. I'm just saying I haven't had the urge to revisit it just because of the way that it's talked about these days. But yeah, I used to fuck with Tow Mater.
Can you wait a
That's
second.
the pull quote for this episode. Yeah, I used to fuck with Tow Mater. Sophie Holsinger.
Can you what is the culture saying about Cars? Am I missing something? Am I out on the Cars conversation?
I mean, I don't
I feel like
I
it's
feel
aged
like
well over
people
on the internet.
yeah, like, Twitter is constantly talking about how bad Cars is. I don't know.
Wow. I must be
Yeah.
I am not plugged in to the Cars side of the universe here. That's crazy. That's wow. Okay, well that was a true personal pick there apparently. Man, this I know we're probably going to do this for a lot of Pixar movies, but like this voice cast is kind of crazy. I just want to put that out there. I'm just a sucker for Guido. I think he's great. And it seems like he was tried to be imagined in several other Pixar films, and I think like Guido's kind of the OG. Okay, well, I guess that's that. Cars, number 12, a movie that apparently nobody likes.
Made it happen.
It's my 13th favorite Pixar movie.
There you
All
go.
right, well, Tyler, you're up at number 11.
Okay, so this is actually interesting. This isn't my genuine, honest to God, number 11 favorite Pixar movie. And I also think it's veto bait. So this is a really good spot for me to be in. I think it's veto bait for one specific person because of some recent Letterboxd activity.
Fuck
And
you,
this is
Tyler.
Ooh.
That's not okay,
This-
man.
Look, this is a movie that I genuinely love.
Okay.
It made me cry. It's my favorite of the.
But you're gonna put it at number 11, even though it made you cry.
Yeah, because there's
okay.
to me a block of 10 Pixar movies that are unassailable top 10 Pixar movies, and some of those are some of my favorite movies of all time.
It's a big
So
block.
just because I love this movie doesn't mean it has to crack that top 10. And I'm going to place Soul here at number 11.
God,
I think it
damn
deserves
it.
to be on this list, but I think there are a number of Pixar movies that can't come out of the top
crazy.
10 for me. And I think this is a good spot for a very good entry in Pixar's library. And that I would have played this even if you hadn't seen your Letterboxd, but I just happen to know it's also veto bait.
I doubt that.
Let's see. I
So-
swear to you, I'll release my list, my private list, and you can look. I won't change it until I release it.
This is this is Stop the Count, but it's actually Release the List. Is how this pod
Yeah,
will go down
I'll do
in
it.
history. Okay, so here's the thing. Ben and Sophie, we obviously have a group chat. I texted the group chat and I was like, I'm not logging any Pixar movies, prepping for this draft, because I wanted to go into it mighty serious. And I wanted to say, look, I don't want people to know what I think about Cars, about Soul, about whatever the case may be. I want to go in this with the true upper hand here. I watched 2 movies. I didn't log them for 2 days, and I sat on my couch and I drank a beer, and I was like, fuck that. They have to go on Letterboxd. I can't live without it. So I logged them, and then I just logged everyone after that. So
Yep.
I Letterboxd, if you're listening, you can sponsor this podcast. I am addicted. I can't not log things, look at the monster you've created, and it has essentially lost me this draft, even though we're only 2 picks in. So shout out Letterboxd, you're the best and you're the worst. I'm gonna let Ben and Sophie, can you guys talk on Soul for a second while I just like figure out what the play is here?
I love what this is doing to him. I knew this would happen.
How quickly the tides turn. Like it just like that.
Look, it was just karmic magic. I didn't plan this. I would have played this at number 11 no matter what. This is just the way it gets to happen. I love
this. Is something that's in my mid tier, which for me is like not top 10. So this is like just skirting it. This is another movie. I have 3 movies in mind that I felt might get played in the top 10 that I was saving my vetoes for. This was another one. So I'm glad I don't need to use it because I'm fine if it's not in the top 10. I don't remember like loving this movie. I remember being like good, but just not, it didn't hit me like some other Pixar's did. So for me, this is a fine spot for sure.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think this is a perfect spot for Soul, actually. I think my favorite part about this movie is the score. I listened to it a lot. Secret banger, Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross score.
Yeah.
But the movie itself, I don't often think about it. And I think it's interesting because I don't have kids and I don't know what kids enjoy necessarily, but I feel like this movie kind of feels singular in Pixar's filmography because I just don't see kids like enjoying it very much.
Yeah.
Like it just feels very existential, and I mean that's why I like it. Like I think it's a really interesting movie about life and death and living in the moment, but it doesn't always feel like a Pixar movie to me. Like it doesn't have that like
Hmm.
childlike wonder to it.
Mhm.
Yeah. Like you
Yeah.
said, just the music is so cool. I love when Pixar does the way Pixar does music, not even just the actual sound of it, but the way they portray the movements of it and the way
Mhm.
the music looks and playing the instruments looks. They just nail it. And this movie just made me sob like a child. And this was, we all saw this right in the middle of the pandemic, so we were all
Yeah.
in weird headspaces. So maybe that had something to do with it, but it was wildly effective to me. It's almost the inverse of Up now that I think about it, because the last
Yeah.
probably half an hour, 15 minutes are the best part, in my opinion, and the part that really got me. And the rest of the movie was just good and enjoyable, like almost every Pixar movie. So, um, yeah, it's a
Okay.
perfect number 11. You just you just have to sit with
I
it.
I am happy for all of you that you feel good about this. Um, I'm really in an interesting boat here because I did rewatch Soul last night, and here's how it went. So I had a lot of laundry to fold. My wife and I were sitting on the couch. We were starting to fold laundry, and Molly knew that I had to watch some Pixar movies to prep for this, and I only had one night left, and I had to make use of what I had. And I was like, what should we throw on? And she's like, well, I haven't seen Soul in a long time. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, wasn't really on my radar. Was like probably, I don't know, 17, 18, 19, like on this list, just because I hadn't revisited it since it came out. Turn on Soul. And I'm like, okay, like I guess I'm locked in now, right? Like this is what we've chosen. About 3 or 4 minutes goes by. I look over at Molly. She's on TikTok. She's checked out. I'm like, okay, great. This is wonderful. She's strapped me with Soul, a movie that I wasn't necessarily going to put on, that I now have to be engrossed in. I guess I could have shut it off, but I felt like I owed it to Soul at that point in time. I watched Soul. I finished Soul. I rated Soul 5 stars. I think it is a masterclass in Pixar storytelling, juxtaposing exactly what you said, Sophie. I think that's why I'm drawn to it, is because it does feel more singular. It feels outside of the box for Pixar storytelling. It feels much, in my opinion, like much more free-flowing, artistic. The score is something totally unique and totally different. And I think too, like, I think Soul is really like one of those when you watch it kind of movies. Like, I just turned 30. I'm constantly going through existential crisis. I am trying to figure out how to chase my dream, just like Joe Gardner's doing in this movie. Like, is that living life? I don't know. And so like I resonated very deeply with this film. So I'm very glad I gave it another shot. Here's the predicament I'm in. I have it significantly higher on my personal list. If I veto it, that's my singular veto, and I lose a lot of flexibility going into the top 10 of this draft. But then again, like, it is a movie I feel strongly about, that like something else might not come up that I feel strongly enough to veto. But
Sounds like we should move to number 10.
Shoot. I don't like it. I don't
Moving
like
off
it at
the pot,
11.
buddy.
I don't like it. I don't like it at 11. Just put it out there, but we'll move on. We'll keep it at 11. I think it deserves much, much higher. And that's on you. That's on
I
you
think
guys.
it's a wonderful film. I think it's a really wonderful film. There are 10 other Pixar movies I would watch before I watched Soul.
It sounds like all 4 of us agree with that. So yeah,
Yes,
that's
all
great.
4 of us.
Oh, here we
All
go.
4
Perfect.
squares on the
I-
screen here.
I am so far 3 picks in, essentially in the minority of most of these opinions, which I think interesting. We'll see if that continues.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Okay, whatever. Sophie, you're gonna kick off the top 10. Damn, Soul at 11. That's brutal. Okay, just let's move on. Let's go.
Okay. I think this is going to be really interesting as well, because similar to how Tyler
Oh
prefaced
my God,
his
guys,
Soul pick.
stop using my addiction against me. Okay, it's
No,
not
no, no,
fair.
no, no, no. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I'm saying that this pick is going to feel baity, but like I am on the record about this movie. and how I think that it's really overrated. It's just a movie that I don't connect with at all, and every time people bring it up, I'm confused. So genuinely, I would love to hear what you guys have to say about the movie Ratatouille,
Mm.
Oh
which I will be
no.
nominating here.
I think Paris is very cool, and I think it's cute. And those are my thoughts on Ratatouille.
I have it much higher than 10. Um, but I also understand that that's like a personal thing.
Mm-hmm.
I can't exactly explain what I love so much about this movie. I think it's just it feels really cozy to me. I think it's the most palatable Pixar movie. I don't think it's not really tackling a whole lot of, like we were talking about, like social themes or whatever. It's a pretty like grounded basic story as much as you can be for a story about a talking rat that can control humans through pulling hair. Um, but I just love it. I love I just love the story. I love the vibes of Paris. I love the way it's depicted by the animators at Pixar. I love the sound of it, the look of it. It just is it's like a nice warm blanket for me. You know what I mean? It's a comfort movie for me. But I recognize it's not that for everyone. So even if I had my veto, I don't think I would. But I do think for me personally, it's a little higher than 10. But you know, c'est la vie.
There it is.
You took that much more gracefully than I took Soul at 11. I'll give you props for that.
Yeah, that was so sweet.
But I've heard this before. People don't always necessarily connect with Ratatouille, and I just love this movie.
I'm with Tyler. This is my second favorite Pixar movie. I think it's some of their most beautiful work that they've ever done. I love Patton. I think his voiceover work is great.
Yeah.
I love the story about like following what your true calling is, what you're really passionate about. I love that side
Kind
of
of like
it.
Soul, right? That's kind of the idea there.
Yeah, you could say Soul copyright to you for sure.
Damn it, walked right into that.
Yeah, no, I love this movie. I'm just really glad it's in the top 10. It's something that I wanted to be in the top 10 for sure. So
what is this energy, Ben? What is this energy? You're just like, no, I'm so happy to be here. I'm happy it's here.
I'm here to have a good time, you know?
You're literally Marshawn Lynch. You're like, I'm happy to be here, or I'm here, or whatever he says.
I'm just here so I don't get fined. Yeah, I love Ratatouille. I think it's a great pick.
Okay, so okay,
cool.
Wait, can I break that? Can I break that down for a very quick second? So this is your second favorite Pixar movie, and you're like, cool, at number 10, I'll take it.
I'm concerned about you, Ethan. You have 2 picks left. I have 2 vetoes left. So
I don't think you should be worried about me.
I'm very concerned with the stuff you've mentioned and ranked. So I don't want those on this list. So in my mind, that's what I'm saving them for.
Personally, you're like, I just can't.
Yeah, they're not top 13
list.
Pixar. Give me something else. Yeah.
Okay, collaborative my ass. Wow, that's insane.
Yeah, it's interesting. Pixar is not my number 1, but I think it would be in the top 2 or 3 of Pixar movies that I would choose to put on first before
Ratatouille. Yeah.
Oh, Ratatouille.
Even though recognizing there are like objectively better Pixar movies, I just love it. So, yeah,
we're really. This is a real shakeup here. This is real interesting. Okay, Sophie, you've put Ratatouille at number 10. Yeah, I think we're sharing an energy on this one. I think 10 is fine. I did not revisit this because I knew, like, yeah, good Pixar movie. Like, I don't know. Like, what more do I need to get out of Ratatouille? Shoot. Okay, Ben, you're at number 9.
I am going to play the best Fantastic Four movie that's ever been made, The Incredibles.
Wow, this is remarkably
That surprises me. I thought you had this movie much higher, personally.
This is in my 10 spot, I believe. There's a couple above that have already been played, and I want to make sure it gets on here. So, fantastic movie. I love this movie. This was
there's 5 members of the family. You know this, right?
Yeah, and I mean I understand that, but
you call it a Fantastic Four movie.
Yeah. I understand what I did, but like this is we don't see Jack for like the entire movie. Like, yeah,
just don't forget about my boy. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no disrespect to the Jack heads out there. I apologize. But yeah, no, I mean, wonderful, amazing voice cast. This thing is awesome. Edna Mode is just one of the coolest things to come out of any Pixar movie. Yeah, I don't know. It's fantastic. It's Brad Bird, a guy who did Ghost Protocol. He knows how to do movies. I don't know what to say. Like,
that's a Mission Impossible movie, right?
Mission Impossible, yeah.
Cool.
Not like the #1 franchise in the world, but a fantastic franchise. Yeah, I love it. I love the period piece of it all. I love the callback with like the villain. I think this movie just works so well, and anything with Sam Jackson is fantastic. So yeah, I don't know. I might have it higher like on a different day, but for now, this is where it's going.
Yeah, I mean, this falls in the trap of like I could slide it anywhere from 10 to like 4 personally.
Yeah.
And I'm just surprised. So I'm happy with it being at 9. I might have it a little higher than you on the day, but I'm just surprised. I thought this was like your #1 Pixar movie for some reason.
Oh, interesting.
We don't hang out enough, man. That's sad.
I know we don't talk Pixar. Like I said, this was like the most wild card thing. Like I don't know anything about Tyler's Pixar taste at all.
Okay, I had this significantly higher on my personal list, but I didn't revisit it because I knew how much I love this movie. I think 9. I think it's fine. I think it's fine. I don't know. It's what we've got to do. You know, I love the kind of like the family unit, the family chemistry, the family comedy. I think is really unique to The Incredibles. I think Syndrome is one of the best, if not the best, like Pixar villain that they've created. I think he's a fully fleshed out villain that has a very clear purpose onto why he's doing what he's doing, which I think is possibly a shortcoming sometimes, especially writing villains in movies and in Pixar. Yeah, I love The Incredibles. That was totally wicked. I think that's an all-timer quote. Shoot, 9. Okay, wow. Sophie, did you talk on this one?
No.
Oh,
I did not.
Well, this is interesting. I better delete this from the notes real fast.
Wheels are turning in that.
What happened?
I swear.
I'm thinking. I have The Incredibles significantly higher as well. I think this is one of our best superhero movies, and I'm not exaggerating. I think this is probably better than anything that the MCU has ever made and released.
Wow.
And it just gave us so many like fun, iconic cultural pinpoints like Edna Mode and Where's My Super Suit, and I don't know. I think that it's some of the best voice acting within Pixar. But there are movies that I care about more, so I'm gonna let it sit here.
Dang.
Cool.
I feel like so far this has been a draft of just like of concessions. We're just like, okay, well, if this is how it has to be. I wonder if this in exercise, like in practice, I wonder how this list. I guess I wonder if at the end of the day this list will benefit anyone personally. You know, like if we're all seceding to each other and we're like, well, this is fine, like this is okay, it needs to be on the list, kind of a thing. Like, are we even gonna feel good about this list? Did we even fight for something?
I don't know. You left Soul at 11.
Already think so.
God.
Ask yourself that question. I don't know.
You left your second favorite movie at number 10.
Top 10.
That's wow. Okay, you can't like I'm like one outside the top 10.
I'm with Tyler though. Like I know I'm on the
disregard
outside of like the Ratatouille hive. Like I love Ratatouille, and I'm aware that most people don't have it probably in their top 5. So I'm not gonna like
really
veto it.
It's in my top 5.
I feel like most people I encounter, like especially Ratatouille on the internet right now, like there was Ratatouille the musical a couple years ago, and
Here
like
we go.
I'm sorry, I'm chronically online. I'm chronically online. Okay, I can't help it. But like all of my friends are obsessed with Ratatouille. Like people talk about the Ratatouille ride at Disney World and like how much they love it. Like I don't know.
Can we just talk about the Josh O'Connor Ratatouille thing going around right now? I'm plugged in, okay? I'm plugged in.
Yeah. Josh O'Connor rewatches Ratatouille like weekly. It's very like I kind of thought it would end up very high on this list, which is why I nominated it early.
Trying to get it,
and I knew it had to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Veto bait.
Well,
it's revealed.
No, I have it like not even in my top 13, but I know it's special to people and I knew it would be on the list. So had to do
Okay.
it.
So taking one for the pop culture. That's what you're
Yeah.
doing here. Okay.
For the
Good.
culture. Yep.
At least the culture has one representative here on the show. Okay, I'm at number 8. This is a very conscious, strategic play here. I feel like as we go up the board, I thought the drafter D position was like all that, and it's turning out it's a little more stressful than I anticipated. Okay,
I'm curious how many Toy Stories are going to end up on here. We got 8 spots left, and arguably one of the best trilogies of all time.
Was just wondering that.
Like, I'm very curious how many of these are going to end up on the list.
Who's to say? I mean, who's going to nominate the first Toy Story? Who knows?
We'll see. You got number 8.
Couldn't be me. I'm going to go with a movie that's very near and dear to my heart, but much in the same vein as you, Sophie. I think I have to play a safety pick here in preparation. So I'm going to play Luca at number 8. This is a movie that what is that look?
From who?
What is that? From that's making it. That's going all over. That's our clip right there. Clip for the episode. I watched Luca. My kids love Luca. I've never sat and watched it with them. It's on all the time. I sat and watched Luca the other night, and I was like, yeah, this is like, okay, cool. Like, I like it. I think the animation's really neat. Like, shout out Beanie Gang. Like, I love that Gabrielle wears a beanie. I think that's fantastic. Like, I liked the movie a lot. And then we get to the final 10 minutes, and I think it just like it unlocked something where I was just like, whoa, Pixar, like, we kind of didn't have to go there. Like, you managed to do it. You crossed the finish line. I think Luca is a movie that, to your facial reaction, is just not in the Pixar conversation. People just like don't talk about it or don't think about it, don't think it's good, whatever. I think it's excellent.
I have started this movie
here we are
4 times. I have yet to get through it. I can't get through this one, man. If I had,
you can't put that on Luca. That's a you problem, Tyler.
Potentially. I'm just saying, like, I know we can't veto movies we haven't seen, and I don't have a veto anymore. But if I did, I would try to break that rule and veto this, because I can't get through this one. And that could be a me thing, but to me, this isn't even on my top 15, top 20.
Dang,
it's funny you say that,
really?
Tyler, because this was the new movie that entered my top 10. I loved it.
We did it.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Oh my God, Ben.
I loved it. I thought,
I'm shaking with joy. We did it.
what you said about the last 10 minutes, like I was in tears, you know, and I'm not going to lie. Like it does take a little while to like get there for sure. I can understand starting us 4 times, be like, all right, what's the point? What are we doing? Like, is this just like the Little Mermaid, you know, kind of thing? Like, what's happening here? I get that, but like by the end of it, I was in tears. It was a beautiful film. So yeah, I was into it. I don't know, like, you know, different strokes, different folks, but this was the new one for me that I was like, okay, this has made it.
Wow.
I'm so surprised this is on the list.
Real recognize real right here. Real recognize real. Love to see it.
Luke is cool. It's fine. I really didn't think it was gonna make the list. Movie? Yeah, out of everything we have left, like I didn't even like glance at this movie on Letterboxd because I thought for sure it wasn't gonna be.
To be clear,
yeah,
I wasn't gonna play this unless I was in the D spot at like 13 or 12 or 11.
Wow.
Like, but I got put in a spot where I had like number 9, so I just wasn't gonna play it anymore because I was like, it's a good like 11 through 13 pick, but I didn't think it was going to make this list. It's high at 8 for me, but I do like the movie. So yeah.
I think it is to me in a similar vein of Soul. I think this like trifecta of COVID movies from Pixar, Turning Red, Soul, and Luca is a very fascinating like microcosm of, or like microeconomy of like what Pixar is. And I think like what they wanted to be and maybe what they shied away from after COVID happened. And I think to me, these are some of the best Pixar movies. They're some of the most unique voices. They're some of the most unique and individualistic stories with the best animation and the most outside of the box thinking. And like, so for me, that's why Luca makes a list. Like in retrospect, like, yeah, I should have played it at 12 or 13, but like I personally even have it higher than 8. So I feel like I'm I'm conceding somewhere.
It's going to be really interesting if we have all like 3 of the COVID movies on our list, because
yeah.
I think a lot of me talking about the culture again, but a lot of people would say that Pixar has been going like downhill in more recent years, which maybe they're referring to Onward or
Whoa.
Elemental.
Okay. Don't throw my boy. Actually, you know what? I don't associate with those guys. Never mind. Take it back.
But yeah, that will be interesting. Yeah, like I said, I didn't have Luca on my radar for this collaborative draft because I honestly didn't. I don't know. I think I assumed like we would all be kind of thinking about the more nostalgic picks.
Mm-hmm.
But it's fine. It can stay here.
But I think that's an interesting like conversational nugget. I think Pixar, at least for us, for our age group, our kind of generation, is a nostalgia brand. It's a nostalgia play. I think for like my kids, it's Onward, it's Luca, it's Turning Red. That's what Pixar is. Yeah. We've put on Toy Story. Out of all the Toy Stories, it's Toy Story 4. We've put on Bug's Life. We've put on all of these OG things, Monsters Inc., all of these things. It is literally all of the newer versions are what my kids like. So I think that's a really interesting, like, just something to consider, like a divergence in like what people think Pixar is and what people are attached to when it comes to Pixar. Okay, so we're good with Luca at 8.
No, but I can't do anything about it.
Wow. This is fascinating.
I will clue you guys in a little bit. I'll show you here. I wrote in my notes because I didn't want to be swayed by something other than my brain. In all caps, Luca at 8 won't get it higher. So I feel good about that.
Nice.
Wow, we did it.
You can't prove Ben, you weren't typing that just below your camera.
Yeah, just right now, actually. Yeah. Whew. Tyler, you're up at 7.
Well, man, so I'm going to play something. Let's see. Where does it land on mine?
Oh, this is interesting.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to put Inside Out here. I love Inside Out. I think it's really a really good movie. It's kind of fun. I actually have it a little bit lower on my personal list than number 7, but just the way things have sort of shaken out so far. And I want it on the board, and I think some of the other movies that I would have picked are going to end up on the board and in places that I feel are appropriate, I hope. So yeah, I'll nominate Inside Out at number 7.
Amy Poehler was like made to do voice work. She's so good in this movie. I mean, everyone. Bill Hader, I forget who Anger is, but he's Lewis Black. Phyllis, like everyone's so good in this movie, and such an interesting idea. I am curious about the new movie, like the new emotions that they introduce. Like it's gonna be kind of fun, but they did such a good job with this one, having as in a similar age moved states. I kind of like related to our main character here and just like everything you go through. So this movie
went backwards. You went from San Francisco to somewhere else,
to a cold place. Yeah, exactly. I did the opposite. But yeah, I love this movie. I'm glad it's here.
I love the way memories are depicted in this movie, because that's kind of how I conceptualize them myself, as these little nuggets. And I've actually had this conversation a few times where I love when you're in a moment in real life and you just know that you're going to remember this moment forever. You know, you can feel the core memory being activated. I just love, to me, this is like, the imagination of Pixar personified, right? It's a movie about imagination and, thought and whatever, and emotion. So yeah, I think I absolutely love this movie, and I love the way they can dream up a world. And this is a very cool world. It's a really cool San Francisco movie. I love the city of San Francisco. So yeah.
I like Inside Out.
What? Do you?
I don't know. Do I? I'm not 100% sure. I think what you said is accurate, though. I think it is an excellent personification of the possibilities of what Pixar is able to put on a screen. I think that is a brilliant form of discourse for this movie. I don't know. I feel like it's just good and not great, maybe. Like, I also haven't like rewatched it in a while. It's not one of the ones I visited, so it could be a little jaded in that fact. But it's just
Female
quite,
protagonist, not your thing.
yeah. I just
So we know
women
that.
in general. It's a movie focused around a woman. I'm just like not
So
really
like,
about that.
I can't relate. Yeah.
Which I will turn back on that here in a little bit,
Yep.
possibly. I don't know. I think Inside Out is great. Maybe I'm just like I think I've been overstuffed with Inside Out. Quite honestly, I think like my meter got filled, and I was like, I'm good on Inside Out. Like it was fun while it lasted, kind of a thing. This is very high for me personally, but I think I value my veto more when we get higher.
Too. I just want
then
it on the list.
Then do we need it on the list?
Sure, I want.
I think we
need it on the
do.
list.
You think it's
I
like
think we do.
it's pivotal Pixar? It has to be on this list.
Do you want on
Swap
this
it
list,
with
Ethan?
Incredibles.
At 7, absolutely not. Do I want it on this list? Yeah, probably.
All right.
Like I think on the graphic, like we gotta have Inside Out, or it's
Got to
it's
do it
gonna
for the
be
culture.
yeah. But I completely agree with you, Ethan. Like I think the concept is smart, and I believe that it's important for children to be exposed and understand their emotions and memories and all of that. But to me, it's a good movie. It's a good idea, but I think the execution like just doesn't it just kind of gets away from itself a little bit. Like I think when we get to like Bing Bong and when we get outside of like that room that they're in initially, like it just I don't know, something about it just like doesn't completely work for me. But I think the actual like idea and the portrayal of those emotions and those performances and like all of that is very interesting, and it's that so in a way I am excited for the second movie when like anxiety and different things come into play with that because yeah. But yeah, I think I also just I got a little bit sick of the Inside Out chatter and haven't been feeling enthused by it.
Culture was talking too much about Inside Out.
Mm-hmm.
How are we feeling about Bill Hader not coming back for number 2? I don't think Mindy Kaling is coming back either.
It's
It's a
tough.
bummer.
That's brutal. And like, do you think this was like a size of the bag issue here?
Yeah, or just I don't know. That other shit going on. Who knows?
Maybe the reputation of the Pixar sequel.
Oh,
They just didn't want to get into that.
That's interesting. Huh. Okay.
Like,
That was a really good constructive conversation. Okay. Sophie, you're at number 6.
All right. Oof.
So we've only played one veto this entire game so far. That's Tyler's veto.
Yeah. So things
Oh,
might
boy.
get crazy here.
It might get bloodbathy real quick.
Ooh. Okay. Oh gosh, I'm so stuck on what to do. Okay. I'm gonna nominate Turning Red here. Which is a movie that like it could be my number 1. Like I love Turning Red a lot.
Let's just wrap
let's
this
run it back.
conversation and let's skyrocket up to number 1. Like, what are we doing here?
I just like I don't know. I think that I relate to it because of like I'm not saying you guys can't relate to the film Turning Red.
I hate women,
me,
so this is great.
like,
I will never relate to this.
Yeah, I know. But to me, like I relate to it in such specific ways of like being boy band obsessed and just like every like theme of girlhood within this movie I relate to. And I personally think that Pixar should just be handed over to Domi Shi. Like I trust her with my life, and
Could
I
not agree more.
want 10 more of her movies. And like this movie gets me excited for what she's going to do in the future. I don't think Turning Red's a perfect movie, but I really, really love it. And I think there's just tiny things like the depiction of food she's so good at. Like it's just a really beautiful movie. But I don't think it's perfect. And I think there's a lot of perfect Pixar movies. So I feel good about putting it here.
Four Town, baby.
Four Town
Town,
forever.
let's go.
Yeah, I think it's great.
Shout
This
out Billy
movie-
and Phineas. That's crazy.
Yeah, and Ludwig Göransson doing music as well.
Doing the score. Can we just get a pulse really fast? I think this is a great collab moment for me personally. So like Ben, Tyler, where are you guys at on Turning Red before we just like kind of like decide to lock things down here?
a lot of respect for this movie. I haven't actually sat down and watched it start to finish. This was one of the movies that was on repeat at my in-laws' house. So I've seen the whole thing just in chunks. And
Okay.
I loved everything that I saw. I really liked it. And I like appreciate that there's a story like this. You know, like Sophie said, you, you made the joke like I couldn't relate to this movie, and I know why you make that joke, but I'm glad that it exists. I think it's important. I think it's like I think it's a great movie. I just haven't been able to give it like the full sitting, the full viewing, the continuous viewing. So I can't really say I couldn't put it on my personal rankings because I just don't have that like full experience and full context with it. So I mean, I defer to the group here.
I love it. I think it's a great movie, great coming of age story, and I don't know. I think it's
Let's have a conversation.
Okay.
I mean, finish your thought. You think it's a great movie?
Yeah.
I don't see how it can be top 5. I really don't.
I would say like if it got vetoed, I wouldn't play it higher myself. Like I'm not going to use one of my picks to play it higher. But I do think it's a great movie.
Okay. So Ben, you have the 5 and the 1, and you would not play it. I'm sure Sophie, you wouldn't play it in the number 2 spot, or are you open to that?
Why would I tell you that?
Because it's a collaborative draft podcast.
I mean, listen to what I said. Like, I really like it could be the number 1 movie for me. Like, I really, really love this movie, but it just goes back to what I said of like, there's some nostalgic
Stone Cold classics
that I just need in the top 5.
Yeah, what are you asking?
Well, I'm just trying to see if I were to veto this movie here to play it at number 4 in my 4 spot, do I have the confidence of the group to keep it at number 4 to lock it in there? I'm not like no funny business. I'm not going to try and like get weird. Like this is my number 1 Pixar movie by far and away. And like, it's not even close. It's just like, it's in a different realm. I own the Steelbook for this movie. I fucking love this movie. It is so good. During the Pixar run that Soul, Luca, Turning Red came back to theaters, my girls and I went to go see Turning Red. Like that's the only one we went to go see. It is the movie for me. It is everything you guys talked about. I do think it is a perfect Pixar movie. I have 2 5-star Pixar movies, this and Soul. Take that to mean whatever you want it to mean. But that's where I'm at. And that's what I feel right now. So it hurts a little bit to see it at 6 and like even outside of the top 5. So if I can get it at number 4, if I can burn my pick for this at number 4, I'm totally okay with that. And I like secede the rest of the board to you guys.
I would not veto it if you put it at 4. Let me make that very clear.
Tyler, you were pretty. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter. You don't have a veto.
I don't have a veto.
It's true.
So.
Ben?
What up?
Well, I mean,
what's going on? I mean,
just need to tell it to me in confidence. You know?
I won't veto you.
Okay, your eyes were closed that whole time you said that. I'm gonna need you pop those pearly whites open and tell me with a clear conscience you're not gonna veto it.
You're gonna have to trust me. I won't veto you.
I
would
really
never veto your
didn't
girls.
foresee
you know
this.
what I mean?
I should trust you. This is the problem. I should, but like it under the umbrella of the draft, I think like that level of trust might just vanish.
Like I said, I love this movie. I personally wouldn't use any of my spots to play it higher. That's not to say if someone else did that, I'd veto it. I think it's a great movie.
Okay, I'm good. I'm gonna veto it, and I make a very verbal confession. I will be playing this at number 4. No funny business.
Sweet.
I need it higher.
Because I'm overriding that veto.
God fucking
no!
Damn it, Tyler!
I feel like
you
Inside Out
slick
is your
motherfucker.
I
feel like this is your Ratatouille. You personally have it a lot higher. I just feel like there are some unassailable top 5 Pixar movies. So
Yeah.
I'm fine with Turning Red being at number 6. I think that's great. I love that you love a movie. I really do. I love movies too, but this just can't be in the top 5 of a Pixar movie. It can be top 6. I'm not going to argue that it doesn't deserve to be in the conversation, but it just I can't see it being the top 5.
I don't think many people are out there making top 6 lists. That's the problem here. I think the cutoff is 5. So I don't feel
easily in the top half of this list.
But this is why I was questioning, like, are we fighting for things on this list? I need to know that we fought for what we wanted, and I guess we lost valiantly on the battlefield. Is what I feel like right now?
You lost valiantly. I'm winning. Okay. I have so far successfully manipulated 2 of your picks.
Sick is sick.
Super sick.
So awesome. I feel so good about that. I just wasted my veto, and my favorite Pixar movie is sitting outside of the top 5, and I'm podcasting with my favorite friends, and I think
this is what I was
it's all about the friendships we made along the way.
It's an important list, Ethan. Do you like it's you said it yourself. This is an important draft. This is an important list. And I just feel like there's 5 other Pixar movies that are pretty unassailable, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. I respect that. I don't agree with that, but I respect that. I think this is part of the conversation that I had alluded to earlier of like this generational divide of Pixar, and like how we can't have anything post 2020 in the top 5. Like it just won't fly. I staunchly disagree with that. I will ride for Turning Red any day of the week. And
I mean, I found my best. That may end up being the truth. Like maybe in 20 years, this sneaks up into the top 5 as things shuffle. You know what I mean? But
20 years, Tyler? You got to give me a shorter timeline than that, brother.
18.
That's brutal.
Toy Story came out 30 years ago, dude. So
yeah.
All right. Okay. Number 6, Turning Red. Oof. Ben, you're up at number 5.
Number 5. We're going with a somewhat recent film that I do think is Pixar's most beautiful film they've ever made. And it is Coco.
Doing the Lord's work out here, Ben.
I love that.
I have, out of my top 6, Ratatouille has been played at number 2. The other 5 have not been played, or I guess are not on the list. Some haven't even been talked about yet. So I'm really kind of curious how this is going to play out. But I need Coco to be on this list, unless Sophie feels otherwise, which, you know, whatever, follow your heart. But yeah, this movie's perfect to me. I love this movie. We get, like, again, I know we keep talking about all these movies, but like the voice cast that we have here is fantastic. Gael Garcia Bernal is just like one of my favorites, and he's fantastic in this. The music is beautiful. Remember Me gets me every fucking time. Every time. Like it's
sing it for me, Ben, please.
Yeah, I can't. I'm gonna cry. I can't. I love this movie so much. I watched this with my partner when we were on vacation at some all-inclusive, and we were just like, maybe had too many drinks, and we're just like, let's just stay in and watch a movie. We put on Coco. We both just like cried the whole time.
Oh man,
like this movie is amazing. I know it's new, but for me, this is a top 5 Pixar movie for sure. So that's what I'm going to play here at 5.
Yeah. It's my number 6. It's what I would have played. And I thought about playing it instead of Inside Out just because I wanted to make sure it was on the list. But I knew someone else would pick it. And it's kind of when I was talking about Soul, the way that Pixar depicts music on screen, this was prime example of that. I play guitar, and the way they show him playing guitar, I mean, he's playing the shapes he's making with his hands are actual chords, and the vibrations of the strings and everything. And just, all the colors and the unbelievable animation work and design work. It's just incredible, and really great music, really great stuff from Pixar. They've got the cute animal buddy. You know what I mean? That's sort of a staple with Pixar.
Yeah.
And they nail it here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Would have been my number 6, but it's fine to be at 5 for me.
I knew that this would be here. It was one of the movies where I was like, I know it has to be on this list. It's not a movie I personally connect to very much, but I do love a musical, and it's Pixar's one and only musical. They need to do more of those. And yeah, I mean, everything you said, like it's colorful. It has one of the most unique messages within Pixar. I think it's a really important story, and that it deserves to be on this list. So even though it would not be, I don't even think it's like in my top 15.
Whoa.
I think it does. I think it holds like a lot of meaning for a lot of people, and I am a little bit nervous because my top 5 like is very precious to me, and now I'm getting a little bit scared. Especially I can't believe we've had no Toy Story movies yet. Like that is
This is
crazy.
Yeah.
this is startling to me. It's a very similar
Yeah.
vein to last week when we got to like round 4, and Sophie, you were like, "Let's talk about Star Wars," and I was
Yeah.
like,
There's
"Oh my
something
god,
going
what
on
is
here.
going on?"
Yeah.
So I don't know. I love Coco. I really, really do. It was in my 7 spot on my list. I think I need to bump it higher on my personal list. I have a great personal connection to it that I already talked about. I agree with you, Ben. I think it is the most like beautiful of Pixar films. And I think too, like one of the few, if not like the only like twist or reveal in a Pixar movie that like really works. It like really, really, really works in this instance, and it works every time. Not like Shutter Island that ceases to work after a single viewing. Yeah, Coco 5 is killer, man. I love it. This is
Cool.
a great
Did it.
draft. We're all living our best lives.
Oh boy.
We all got one pick left.
Okay, two schools of thought here. We are in the top 5, and like you mentioned, Sophie, no Toy Story has been talked about yet. Very, very concerning. Also, I offered myself, I came forth to the table and I said, take my body, take my soul, and take my number 4 pick, so I couldn't potentially wreak havoc on the draft like I've been known to do in the past. You shut that down. That's all I want to say. Am I going to do it? I don't know. We'll see. Got to talk it out. But you had the opportunity to just squash
Big
it.
right now.
Just saying. Okay. This is interesting. Sophie, I know you really like Finding Nemo. I'm just saying facts right now. I'm just processing in lifetime. Okay.
Mhm.
Not a single Toy Story is really concerning. No, there's no Monsters University. This could get dangerous. Well,
Don't hurt to skip the beat.
what do we do? I'm going to play the very first Toy Story film. Not actually, I'm not playing Toy Story. I'm going to play the first Toy Story film on this board, and that movie will in fact be Toy Story 2. I'm going to put Toy Story 2 here on this board. I think it is definitely the best Toy Story film out of the franchise. I think it is the most successful. I think it is the most interesting in terms of like narrative. And I think it is the funniest. And let's be honest. We get introduced to Jesse and the horse, and they stick around for every other movie. So just throwing that out there. I love Toy Story 2. I'm gonna put that at number 4.
Sick.
Pretty high on Toy Story 2. I wouldn't veto it even if I had a veto.
Cool.
So great. Well done.
We needed a Toy Story here. This isn't the one that I would pick, but it needed to be here.
Okay. I genuinely, like, I'm playing with the brain here. I am playing what I think should go here.
It's a nice change of pace. I'm enjoying it. It's good.
Ben, I'm enjoying my time here on this podcast.
I want to know what Sophie thinks, because she had the most interesting reaction to this.
I mean, I'm honestly just shocked. Like, I love Toy Story 2, but I don't know. I feel like it's not talked about as much. Like, I feel like 1 and 3 are the ones that people like note the most, I guess. But I love Toy Story 2 for the reasons that you stated. Like, it gave us When She Loved Me, which is like just one of the great sequences. I really love the Buzz plot line in this movie. I think that plot line's underrated. Yeah, I mean, a Toy Story movie needed to go here. Like Ben said, it's not the one I would have played, but sure.
Okay. Well, I think that's interesting.
I feel like it sort of gets lost in the shuffle. Like, it sort of, people think of it as just Toy Story and Toy Story 2 kind of all as the same movie. Because while you were speaking, Sophie, I kind of had that realization for myself. I sort of think of them as one entity. They continue the story so perfectly, and it, like, there's no dip in quality or I've seen people argue that Toy Story 2 is better than the original Toy Story. I don't personally agree, but I think it's really close. You know what I mean? And maybe it's just 3 does feel like an actual new thing, and Toy Story 1 and 2 are just kind of like one mental block, one little core memory in our inside out brains.
I really do. I like what you brought up, Sophie, though. I love the narrative of like the anti-buzz and kind of like what we get with that. And I think one of the funniest bits, if not like the single funniest bit in the Toy Story franchise, is that like anti-buzz like treating Zurg like his father and is like, oh, we're gonna go play catch. I think that is truly funny. Like, I think that's Pixar at the peak of Pixar, realizing like, look what we can do with our characters. And I think that's really, really neat. Okay, cool. Toy Story 2 at number 4. That leads us to the very top 3. Tyler, you've got 3. Sophie, you got 2. Ben, you got 1. Ben, you still have 2 vetoes. Sophie, you've got a veto. You guys both have picks. I wonder if they go unused.
It's possible.
I think we're in a curious predicament here. Tyler, number 3.
Oh, for some reason, this one's. I'm going to play something that I think. I mean, it's hard to go much higher when you're at number 3, but I think people may argue that it could go higher. So yeah, I'm just going to play it to see what happens. Although it is my actual number 3 on my list. I will say my personal list. This is my actual number 3. But I'm going to play Finding Nemo here at number 3.
So you can do your Wally since you vetoed that earlier.
Oh yeah, I guess I could, but I'm not going
Finding Nemo.
to. I'll be so this is actually the second time this has happened in the same draft. It is my actual number 3 on my list, but I also recognize it's veto bait, and I kind of just wanted to see what would happen.
Do you imply veto bait as in shouldn't be on the list or should be higher on the list?
I mean, I think that there's people that might argue this should be higher on the list, even though it's at number 3. I recognize
people.
Yeah, I think Sophie is one of those people.
Me trying to hide my face so bad. I'm like,
just get it out there, Sophie. Just let it out.
I'll be completely honest. I completely forgot about Wally, but I mean,
I know I should have reminded you. I was so close.
You should have. But there's movies on this list that I would have Wally over, I guess. But that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna veto it.
Okay, cool. That's great.
I think that's the right. I think that's the right play. Yeah.
I will then instead play. Yeah, I'll play Wally. Yeah, I'll play Wally.
Hell yeah!
Nice.
Perfect.
Ben, you have the opportunity to do maybe the funniest thing ever.
Lightyear to the rescue.
You could do it
number
twice.
1. The good dinosaur.
The good dinosaur. Number 1.
There's
I'm
a movie
glad
that I
Wally's
actually
here.
would. I like. There's another movie that I like better than Wally. But during my like straw poll of people, Wally was one of the most common responses in favorite Pixar movies.
Oh yeah.
And I do love it. But there is another movie that I'm afraid actually isn't going to make the list anymore. That I would watch before Wally, but I just have a lot of reverence for Wally, and so does the anecdotal amount of people that I hold in my personal life. So take that for what it's worth.
Is Wally from 12 to 3 one of the biggest jumps in draft history? It's got to be up there. It's a huge jump.
It's correct too. I think. This is my number 3 Pixar movie is Wall-E. So
me too.
For me, this is the perfect spot. I love it. I think I already talked about the movie. It's amazing. Criterion Collection. It's fantastic. So yeah, I'm super happy.
Yeah, I think about this movie like at least once a week, and just the way that it like illustrates our future.
So
like
prophetic.
I think about those chairs all the time, like all the time. And
So
yeah,
close.
I mean, yeah,
Fred Willard's so fun in it though. He, like his little, yeah, that guy's great.
And also just like a personal thing about Wall-E that I love is it uses samples from Hello Dolly, which is one of my favorite musicals ever. And I think that adds just like this element to it of like this movie is like a movie is teaching a robot about love and human connection. And that's just like such a cool aspect of the movie that I love. And I think Ben mentioned this earlier, but the fact that there's no dialogue in the first 30 minutes and the movie like benefits from that. Like it's so good. I love Wally a lot. And it's also my number 3 slot. So very happy that it's here.
Nice.
Yeah. That's brutal, Sophie. I gotta be honest with you. I didn't really think about, like, I didn't read Wall-E that way, of like movies teach or like cinema teaching a robot about like the, human condition. And now that you mention it, and now that I come across as a Wall-E hater, like, I'm pretty sure I just don't like movies. And so that's now I'm scared. I'm scared that the truth is going to come out. That's the take here.
2 movie topic guys to beat.
Shoot. Bad take for me. Nah, I own up to that.
Yeah, Wally's my personal number 4. So,
nice.
It's not far off from where I would have had it.
Okay. Geez, top 2. Sophie, number 2.
This is terrifying.
This
really
is crazy.
terrifying.
Big moment.
Because, yeah, huge moment, because here's where I am. I have no idea what Ben thinks of Finding Nemo. Like, I know he respects it. I don't know if he loves it enough to play it at number 1, which is personally where I would put Finding Nemo. It is one of my favorite movies ever. So I'm
Gay collaborative
stuck because I need it to be on the list. But I don't think it belongs in the number 2 slot. I don't know what Ben wants on this list. I'm very confused.
Can we just say real quick, like what was said in the group chat to maybe elicit a little bit of light on this Ben situation here? So I believe Sophie sent us a picture that said it was like a picture of a Google search, said, "Why is Finding Nemo so good?" And you said me right now. And Ben said, "Are you asking because you don't understand why people like it, or just trying to find the words to why you like it so much?" Which I think, Ben, shout out, like real snaky vibes out of you, just trying to slither your way into figuring out what she thinks without revealing your true position.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh man,
Yep,
Sophie,
exactly.
if I were you, I would be petrified right now.
I'm so scared. I'm so scared. But he did, an extension of that message was Ben responding something to the extent of like, "I hope it's the latter," or something like that. Like it gave me a hint of, oh, I think Ben likes Finding Nemo.
Oh no, it was, I assume, the latter part. That's it. Still pretty snaky. That's it.
What a bold move to leave it in my hands to not play it at number 2.
This is crazy.
Maybe he'll play it. I don't know. We'll see. It's either not on the list, like I can't play it.
Not on the list at all, or number 2. That's bananas. I mean, look, it could be number 1. Ben, I mean, you're not going to reveal. I take it.
Yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of great movies out there.
Ben
I didn't know how many Toy Stories were going to end up on here.
Ben loves Toy Story. Look out. Brave is still on the board. Ben, you love women.
I love
women. Big fan.
Shit. And this is crazy because I have 4 movies right now that I rate 5 stars that aren't on this list. So I am just very stuck.
Monsters University is out there. It can be played. It's allowed to be on the board.
Thank God it won't be played.
Okay. I'm going to maybe do something crazy, and Ben can veto this.
Oh no.
Oh no.
But I am going to play Monsters Inc. here at number 2.
Okay. Yeah.
I love Monsters Inc. I have such a personal relationship to it, but I also just think that it's an earlier Pixar movie that has such a fun and unique concept. I think Sully and Mike are an underrated duo that live under the shadow of Woody and Buzz. I think the final frame gives me chills. There's a great villain. Billy Crystal as Mike Wazowski, probably my favorite Pixar performance. I just really, really love Monsters Inc. And I'm putting faith in Ben, but at the same time, I think he's going to play Toy Story, and that's fine. I just kind of wanted to do something crazy. So here we are.
Like, I love Monsters Inc. And the adorable pet in this movie is a baby, which is fun. I like that twist.
Yeah.
And it's it is a perfect representation of just like the incredible imagination that the people at Pixar have and their ability to implement that. It's a very, I mean, I can't do it. We all like, I sure as hell couldn't do it. And I like, it's so fun. It's so sweet. It's really cool. The monsters are inventive.
Yeah.
And I love the twist on that it's a natural, our fear is a natural resource for them. I love that's a
So cool.
pretty clever little twist.
Mhm.
I think this is great at number two. Um, yeah, I'm surprised you didn't do Finding Nemo, but I
Yeah.
think it's interchangeable for me. Finding Nemo and Monsters Inc. kind of I don't know.
I'm a- I like Monsters Inc., but I'm like kind of out. It's like really low on my list. It's like
Wow.
it's like towards the 12, 13 spot.
Who hurt you, Ethan?
It's actually 10 right now, but like it's low for me. So I'm worried because I have Finding Nemo very high. Obviously, I have like no say in how the rest of this board plays. Ben's got
Ethan
the
had a
ultimate
monster in his
power
closet
here.
growing up. It's
Yeah,
too triggering
for
for him.
sure.
Yeah, the monster was called my mother. And so maybe I just can't get too close to home. I just can't revisit. I revisited Finding Nemo, and I don't know if we're gonna have this conversation in number one. I don't see it happening. So we'll have to have the conversation regardless. I think Finding Nemo is a masterclass in Pixar, but I guess
Save it for honorable mentions.
Oh
Don't worry.
wow,
There's
that's
plenty of
insane,
time.
Sophie. You took the risk and you lost.
I know.
You lost
But
at
you
the
know
table.
what? Ben's gonna get like pummeled for this, so it's whatever.
Back to Monsters Inc. Buscemi's great. Every time the kids say Mike Wazowski, my heart melts. It's the funniest thing when they just say his name.
Yeah.
I love the dynamic between Goodman and Crystal. They're both fantastic. Like, this falls in my fourth spot. Monsters Inc. does. I love this movie, so I'm happy with it here. Obviously, Ratatouille was played a little while ago, so my number two wasn't going to be number two, but yeah, I think this is a really good selection.
Dang.
Awesome.
I'm nervous Finding Nemo isn't going to make the top spot because I think Finding Nemo
I'm worried.
needs to be on this list, and
But
there's
it
nothing I
should,
can do about it.
because Toy Story 2's on the board. We have some
I
Toy
really
Story
agree.
rap.
It should
Like-
be on this board.
Come on.
But
No
Toy
question.
Story is arguably the greatest trilogy ever made, starting with like the first Pixar film.
Yeah,
I mean, I know there's like Lord of the Rings and before trilogy, but like what they did in 95 with that animation with Toy Story is amazing. I know the fourth one, for me, the fourth one kind of fell off a little bit. I really enjoy 1, 2, and 3. I think it's important to like have a film on there that shows their history. So Finding Nemo will be number one.
Yes!
Oh wow!
It's my favorite
Okay.
Pixar movie ever. I love
Speechless.
Finding Nemo.
Speechless.
It's so good. Like, it's one of the best road trip movies ever, like without a doubt.
Yeah.
Albert Brooks is amazing. I could even handle Ellen. You know what I mean? Like, she was like, Dory is great. Not in Finding Dory, but like she's great in this. Willem Dafoe is fantastic. Like, I don't know. I love this movie. This, for me, for the longest time until Coco, was the most beautiful Pixar film. Like how they captured underwater life was amazing. The impact that Up gets you in the first 15 minutes. This one kind of gets you in the first like 4 minutes. You know what I mean? Like when it's just like just Nemo left with his dad. It's like, oh shit, like that's kind of crazy. And you understand where like his protection, where Marlin like protection comes from and want to take care of him. So much good humor in here, calling the boat the butt, like just like childish humor, but it's hilarious. It works perfectly. Meeting Crush, like again, like going on the road trip. This is like one of the most unique road trip movies ever. And yeah, this is my hands down number one favorite Pixar movie of all time. I love it.
Wow.
You made Sophie ink.
I did. I think I made her ink for sure.
Oh my gosh. I've never felt such relief.
I love this.
I was hoping you
love
played
this.
too,
I
just so I
mean-
could veto you, but yeah.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Oh, I think I revisited Finding Nemo because in my memory I was like, it's okay. Like it's just a movie about fish. And then I revisited it. It was one of the first ones I watched on this journey. And I think I texted you guys and I was like, the Pixar movie I'm watching right now, like I don't know if I can get through it. It's too emotional.
Oh,
and
is this one?
that was
Okay.
Finding Nemo, where
Nice.
I was like,
Yeah.
how? Like how did we do it? How did they do this? Like
Yeah.
I watched this movie all the time as a kid and obviously the first time I'm watching it as an adult. And so I connected a lot more to Marlin's story and like the idea. I think out of all of us, I'm the only person with kids, and so the idea that one of your children is missing, you literally don't know where they are, and Marlon is willing to cross the ocean to find him is just like it's like you with Remember Me in Coco Ben. It's like I can't talk about it anymore. I just can't. Too close to home, too emotional, too beautifully depicted. This score is sensational as well. Like I was like Nemo's 6 minutes into this and I was like, beautiful stuff. Just gorgeous, gorgeous stuff. It's so cool. What a power move by Benjamin Lawhorn coming to rescue.
He did it. Bruce Fisher, Friends Not Food. Like, the sharks are great. Yeah. Sorry, Tyler, go ahead.
You're good. Your preamble about Toy Story and kicking off the whole Pixar thing is exactly my sentiments. And I had Toy Story #1 for all those reasons. I just felt like none of this happens. Like Finding Nemo doesn't happen without Toy Story. And I love Toy Story. I think it's, I have it as my #1 Pixar movie. And I couldn't choose between Toy Story 1 and Toy Story 2. So I just put them 1 and 2. So Finding Nemo is technically my #2 pick because, like I explained earlier, Toy Story 1 and 2 are sort of like the same movie to me. You know what I mean? They just feel like the same thing to me. So, the fact that Toy Story 2 is on this list at all is fine with me. And I think Finding Nemo is the perfect amalgamation of everything Pixar does well. It's heart, it's humor, it's imagination, it's incredible animation, very powerful storytelling, but in an accessible shell. I think it's perfect. It's such a good movie. I think it's a fantastic #1. And look how happy it made Sophie. How could you?
I've never been so happy with joy. Yeah, this is just one of my favorite movies of all time. I mean, I would echo everything you guys say, but I just think it's like a one-of-a-kind journey film that shows kids something they've never seen before, which is the ocean. And it does it in such a beautiful way where you're meeting dozens of like these vibrant characters that all kind of give these different messages. And I think it's one of the most quotable movies ever. And maybe that's just because we quote it in my house a lot, but it's so funny and has so much heart. And it gave us Willem Dafoe as a sexy scarred fish. So that's where I'll end.
Fish bait. Yeah.
It is wild that Willem Dafoe is voicing this, and then you're like, oh yeah, Willem Dafoe, the guy who's going to be in Kinds of Kindness and Beetlejuice this year, like 2 of the biggest movies of 2024.
Yeah,
it's insane. I had this personally at #4. I had Turning Red, Soul, Luca, and then Finding Nemo. So you could arguably say like Finding Nemo is my #1 of like old wave Pixar, right? I think. What I do think is interesting here, and I'll go over the list and we'll wrap this draft, but I think this begs an interesting question for the podcast and for the exercise we do here for the collaborative draft. Omitting Toy Story from this list, Ben, exactly what you said. One of the core influences of
for sure.
This is not my fault at all. I'm the only person that put a Toy Story movie on here. I'm helping
sure
people.
It says
do you know what people are going to say?
Luca, Ethan. Pretty sure.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah. I just want to make sure that I had that right.
My name is not attached to the graphic.
Luca's on this list, and there's no Toy Story, and that is as a result of Mr. Ethan Timmy.
Tough. You guys had 12 other spots. You could have put Toy Story anywhere you wanted. The reason I get at this is because how much of this exercise, how much of this collaborative draft is recognizing things that are, you could say like monumental or like Hall of Fame-ish, right? Like, where do we put Toy Story in terms of like the Pixar aura, like the Pixar bubble, the Pixar world? Is it important to have something with that much historic weight included in a list like this? Or is it like, are we're good, like omitting something that was so critical to the history of animation? Like, let's just be honest. I don't know. I think it's just an interesting point.
Nothing we can do. I would swap Toy Story 2 for Toy Story 1, but I mean, they're both great movies.
Guys.
They're both 5-star, 100% movies. You know, I don't know. Like, Toy Story 2 can represent Toy Story for me. That's fine.
Yeah.
I would rather have it just be Toy Story, but I mean, that's okay.
So this you could argue this is more of an Oscar situation, a trilogy situation, a franchise situation. Like, as long as we have one that's representative of a particular franchise, a particular moment in time for a studio or whatever it may be, we feel covered.
That's how I treated it. Like, I had a top 13 going into this, and then in the middle, I had a middle group, and 2 from the middle group got played. So 2 from my top 13 weren't going to make it. And those 2 became Toy Story and Toy Story 3. Because it just felt like it'll be represented. It's there. Toy Story 2, again, not the one I would have picked, but at least it's there. And then we still have diversity with all the other films that are on the list. So yeah, obviously I would have played it a little different. My top 13, I would have had all 3 Toy Story, like the first 3 Toy Story movies in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's there.
Okay.
Yeah, all 3 Toy Story films are in my top 10. And Toy Story 2 is probably my least favorite of the original trilogy. So yeah, I definitely would have played this differently.
Wow.
And I think it's sad that we didn't even like get to talk about Toy Story 3 because I think it should have ended there. I think it's a like perfect like way to wrap up what we experienced.
He's playing with Bonnie. Like, come on. That's that's
oh
amazing.
my gosh.
So you're very, very excited for Toy Story 5. I take it.
No,
I'm gonna watch it.
I think you're not listening
Absolutely
to what we're saying. Should have ended at 3.
I think one of my hottest Pixar takes is that I think Toy Story is just okay. I have it at 17 on my list currently.
I think one of your hottest Pixar takes is that your top 3 are from the last 4 years.
Yeah.
That's a pretty hot fucking
crazy.
take.
Yeah.
But it's not like, I guess you could attribute a little bit to like recency bias if you want, but like I rewatched a lot of these movies. Like I gave them it's not like I was like, oh, let's just go in reverse order and I only hit like the next 3. Like I rewatched A Bug's Life that I had at my number 3 spot, and I rewatched it and I was like, yo, not that good. Like we got to drop that shit out. And so like I was being honest with myself. Like I think Toy Story is actually really, really great until the end when Woody speaks to Sid, and that breaks the barrier for me. I think as a creative choice, that does not work for me whatsoever. It's the only moment, I haven't watched Toy Story 4, but it's the only moment in the Toy Stories I've seen where like the toys talk to the humans. And like the point is that they don't talk to the humans. Like they live their own lives. And so like for me, that doesn't work. I do have Toy Story 3 very high on my list.
Yeah.
If you're creating a world of toys, you got to stick to the rules. Okay, let's go over our list here. We got Up at 13, Cars at 12, Soul at 11, Ratatouille number 10, The Incredibles at number 9. Number 8 is Luca. Number 7 is Inside Out. Number 6 is Turning Red. Number 5 is Coco. Number 4 is Toy Story 2. Number 3 is WALL-E. Number 2 is Monsters Inc. And number 1, in a sensational, monumental move, is Finding Nemo. All is right in the world. We feel good.
We did it.
Well, I feel pretty good.
Yeah, maybe we just say that. Maybe we say that the rules for this podcast were one movie per franchise, and then we won't get smoke for leaving out Toy Story 3.
What the fuck?
So we okay. So we succumb to the pressures of the culture, really, is what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Okay. Even though nobody wanted Cars on this list, it's important to have something representative of every franchise. Okay.
Cars was my number 13. So it's, then
it's a win. Then we win. Okay. I feel like we talked about changes, anything that we would change. We would definitely put Turning Red at number 1. Okay. Tyler, thanks for being on this draft, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you, man.
Thank you for being here. If people want to find more of you, where can they find you at?
You'll eventually be able to find both Ben and I, along with our third co-host Matthew Weiler, at the Unsung Gems podcast, at unsung_gems on all the socials. We're just trying to dig through the vast back catalog of movies that exist and trying to dig up the ones that don't get enough shine. We got our little loop and a light, and we're trying to find all the what carrot does every gem deserve. yeah, so that's the deal there. And guys, I love this show. It's my favorite podcast on all of the internets right now.
Too kind.
Beyond just the fact that I know, Ben and Ethan very well. Sophie, this is my first time interacting with you. But I love the show, and I think you guys are doing a great job. So I'm very happy and honored to be here, and I hope to come back for many more.
Wow, without a doubt,
a true long time first time. It feels good. Ben, Sophie, thanks for co-hosting as usual. Do you guys have any closing thoughts before we get out of here?
I should have vetoed Ratatouille. Should have got it higher.
You got remorse. You got regret.
Yeah. I'm just left with 2 vetoes. I was afraid you were gonna play Onward, and I was like, that movie. I don't like that movie. That's what I was worried about.
I'm very anti Chris Pratt, but like I said, I have a special place for Onward, even if it's not that good of a movie. I was like, my child is 2.5 and like walking around a movie theater and we're watching Onward. Like all is right in the world. That's the feeling I have for that film. But no, you should trust me more next time. What do we got? Next pod that we're all going to be on together is, I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and find out maybe, or I have to pull up the, this is a good one. This is from a listener actually suggested this topic and we're going to do it. Movies with a color in the title. Tyler, if you were to have the number 1 draft pick, movies with a color in the title, what would you draft?
Does it have to be a color? Can it be the word color?
Exactly.
Don't know. We'll figure it out in a couple of weeks when we get there.
I'm with you, Tyler. I'm with you.
We'll find out.
Color? I'll say the color of money, just for.
Does the word sun qualify? Like, because we know what the color of the sun is, right? Like, I feel like that's right.
We got to cut this loose.
Just the same way I can't nominate your beanie, because we all know.
There we go. We did it. Be sure to listen and subscribe to the Movie Draft Podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. New episodes will be released weekly on Tuesdays. We'll see you then.